Good evening and welcome into College Crossfire, the best collegiate sports debate show on the planet. I'm your host, Tommy Yarrish. Before we get started on our show, we just have to touch on this again. We touched on it the last time we were here. If you remember, we were passing around a boom mic to one another because of mic issues here at TSTV. And as you'll see when we introduce our contestants, once again, we have mic issues. Guys, we have had a week off. What are we doing, TSTV? Pretty soon, we're going to have to be using this as our mic. Here, I'll just toss it over to the contestants, and that's how we'll answer our questions today. Come on, guys. This is the best collegiate sports debate show on the planet. We deserve to have good audio. That's all from my rant today. Thanks for indulging in that. We've got a good one, as always, lined up for you. Let's go ahead and meet our contestants. On first base, he's our returning champion, and he made it back from a trip to Cabo with us. It's the lean, mean, athletic machine, Robert Gonsulin. Welcome back, Robert. How are you doing, man?
Thanks, Holly, for having me. I'm excited to be back. Longhorns in the Sweet 16. Let's get it.
The lean, mean, athletic machine. What a guy. If you don't remember, last week in his victory, he described himself as the lean, mean, athletic machine. And regional in pole vault in high school, am I wrong?
Region 3, District 23 6A, pole vaulting champion.
I am so sorry for the disrespect, my friend. Please forgive me. And next to him on second base, he's making his first appearance since humiliating me with his play-by-play during the TSTV Open Gym. It's Michael Alvarez. Thanks for being here, Michael. How's it going, man?
I feel pretty good. I didn't get a lean mean, but I do like that I embarrassed you maybe a little bit. That was kind of funny. A man next to me did kind of cook you, but we're not going to get into that. That was the pass. That's the pass.
It was a three-point game.
But I'm happy to be back, and let's just get it started.
Yeah, your play-by-play was good, but I just didn't enjoy it at the time, mostly because everything I did, you felt like criticizing. But this guy turns into Steph Curry and knocks down 5 straight threes. What do you want me to do? And last but not least, the guy who allegedly cooked me on third base. He's with us after spending all of spring break crying at the fact that his Falcons did not sign Lamar Jackson. But hey, Jesse Bates, it's Justin Goosman. What's up, Goose? How's it going, man?
You know, I was going to say we're passing around the mics like Princeton passed around the basketball during the tournament, but I mean, Tommy just humiliates me with these intros every time.
No,
so
that was a good one.
I'm happy with the Falcons offseason. That's all I got to say.
That was a good one. That was a good one. You got Jesse Bates. He's a great safety. I was trying to give you a compliment, man. I'm not going to be nice anymore on this show. Thank you all so much for being here with us. We've got a good one lined up for you. Let's go ahead and get started. Texas men's basketball returns to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2008, following a 71-66 win over Penn State in the round of 32. Now they face a number 3 seed, Xavier. With only 4 potential games remaining, what finish to the year would you consider a success for the Longhorns? Robert, we'll start with you.
I'm going to give it to y'all right away. For this year to be a success for the Texas Longhorns, they need to go to the Final Four and make an appearance there. Since 2008, 11 total appearances in the tournament. Only 5 of them have gone to the round of 32. Since in those past 15 years, Isaiah Taylor, Miles Turner, Jackson Hayes, Mo Bamba, great players, but I've come to forget about them throughout the years. I think this team is better than all those past 15 years, but if I actually want to remember them, they need to cement themselves at a stage that actually matters and makes me kind of not forget them. They need to go to the Final Four. Great players like, Serge Ibaka, Rice, Christian Bishop, Dylan DeSue. I want to remember those players. They can go to the NBA, but they have to cement themselves.
And you mentioned the talent that's come through Texas, guys like Mo Bamba and Miles Turner. Extremely talented players, but those teams just didn't have enough cohesiveness, didn't have the experience that this Texas team does. I think that's a big reason why they're in the Sweet 16. Michael?
I actually don't believe there's much more they need to prove this season. I mean, they made the Sweet 16 for the first time in 15 years. They won another Big 12 tournament championship second time in 3 years, second time in school history. I mean, they've taken Rodney Terry came on, took over as interim head coach, and has pushed this team to a 2 seed. And success you would probably saw Chris Beard doing, but when he stepped in, people thought he was probably going to step back a little bit. But he's elevated those results, and I don't know if there's much his team needs to still prove, but I think if they want to, people to maybe not talk, maybe be like this team wasn't much, I think probably at least the Elite 8.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rodney Terry, sort of, I'll say on the hot seat for lack of a better term, but more of on the wait my turn seat, see if he gets hired. A lot of people think with this Sweet 16 appearance, he's got it. I think the nail in the coffin is going to be if they can defeat Xavier. There's no question that Rodney Terry is your head coach going forward. Justin, close us out.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree in saying that this season is already a success. You have to take into account everything that has happened to this Texas team, and losing Chris Beard early on this season, who you think is going to be the long-term head coach of this program and then still being able to stick with the program, get the guys behind RT, and make it to the first Sweet 16 in 15 years, the season has already been a success. If you don't think it's a success, I just don't think that you've been paying attention to Texas basketball for the last 10 to 15 years. The season's a success, one, because they got to the Sweet 16, two, because they've withstood everything that they've had to withstand this year, beating Kansas twice towards the end of the year and winning the Big 12 Conference Tournament Championship is huge for this team. Obviously, it'd be great to get to a Final Four or an Elite Eight, but this season is already a success. It's hard enough to win in the NCAA tournament as is.
Absolutely, and those wins against Kansas, both by double digits and a week apart, was certainly an impressive stunt there for the Longhorns heading into the tournament. They're playing their best basketball, which is what you want to do in March. Great answers across the board. Robert, you'll get the 3 here. Goose, you get the 2. Michael, you get the 1. Not so great performances in March were the women's basketball team on their home court in Austin. They were just dominated in every facet of the game against Louisville as the Cardinals easily won 73-51 over Vic Schaefer's team. After the loss, fans are criticizing Schaefer's offensive approach, which focuses more on moving the ball inside and trying to pass for easy layups. With questions arising as to whether this strategy is not good and outdated, do you think that it's time for some schematic change in Austin to try to liven up this offense? Michael, start us off.
I think it's kind of an overreaction. I mean, this team still went 26-10. They still won a Big 12 championship. They shot respectable from the field. Yeah, I mean, it's an ever-growing game. Three-point shots becoming more dominant. Maybe take away the outside stretch out of 3. They only shot 36 as a team this year. But I think it's still maybe a little more of a reaction because, I mean, they still had success this year. They still had 5 players scored in double figures, average double figures throughout the season. I mean, they're still successful. I think it might have just been a bad offensive performance. I mean, they shot 10% from 3. That is what they're kind of criticizing. They don't think they can shoot the ball very well. They think they want to push inside. But I think you got to give it a little more time. I think maybe if next season he still has these similar struggles, maybe it's time to call for his head.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly seemed a little out of sorts earlier this week. Wasn't really expecting a 22-point blowout to a very good Louisville team, but nonetheless, Texas also very impressive this year. Justin, continue on.
Yeah, I don't think you want to overreact here either. Vic Schaefer's had plenty of success. He took Texas to the Elite Eight each of the last 2 years before this season. And although Texas didn't look very good offensively, there were just so many times where the ball just didn't roll Texas's way. Shots just didn't fall. Yeah, Texas turned the ball over a lot. They didn't look clean on offense. But again, everything just seemed to be going wrong for Texas when Vic Schaefer has had teams that have been able to execute well in the past. This team also just isn't built to shoot the 3 all that well. Shea Hawley and Shaylee Gonzalez are your best 3-point shooters. Other than that, Rory Harmon doesn't shoot a lot of 3s, and I don't think she wants to shoot a lot of 3s. So honestly, it just came down to Texas not being able to execute the ball rolling Louisville's way a couple different times, and Haley Van Lith had an excellent performance. Sometimes there's just nothing you can do about that. So I don't think it's time to overreact. Schaefer's had plenty of success with Texas. Doing anything drastic, I think, would be probably the wrong move.
Absolutely. Haley Van Lith, just straight up one of the better players in the country. Goose, I know you're a big fan of her game, so she absolutely took over there. He knows what I'm talking about. He just absolutely took over in that game. And you mentioned Holly and Gonzalez, the only 2 real 3-point threats. Holly didn't really see. I don't think she took a 3-point shot at all. You maybe one. Don't quote me on that. But Gonzalez just couldn't find her stroke either. That's not really a winning recipe for this Texas team. Robert?
You know, I'm going to finish this question off by saying, no, I don't think there needs to be any schematic change. You know, Vic Schaefer, this was his 3rd season at Texas. He's been coaching basketball for 35 years now. And especially at the college level, whether it's high school, pros, any level of basketball, I think the college level is where you can really pick out offensive strategy and fundamentals. Yes, you know, scheming, that's running the floor, mastering the ball. You know, that's where college basketball, that's where it thrives. You know, and I feel like, you know, people are going to make mistakes, turn over the ball, miss shots. That's just basketball. But I feel like nothing needs to change because Vic Schaefer has his mind of his own and knows what he's doing on the floor. Let his time at Texas pan out, and you know, let his offensive game plan run wild. I mean, let it pan out.
Absolutely. Great answers across the board again. I just want to clarify, I don't think Vic Schaefer's on the hot seat whatsoever. He's a phenomenal coach. He's a phenomenal coach. Just a question more of maybe do you try to sprinkle in something new to this Texas offense or recruit some more shooters who can help you beyond the arc? We'll see if that comes into play next season. Goose will give you the 3 here. Michael, you get the 2. Robert, you get the 1. Last question here of our first block. The 2nd week of spring football practices kicked off this week, meaning some more opportunities to showcase talent arise for some new transfer players. Fellas, of all the transfers that the Longhorns brought in over the offseason, who do you think will have the biggest year in their first season with Texas? Justin?
I'm going to go with a safety in Jalen Catalon. I think that's a really good pickup for Texas, a little weak in the secondary, trying to buffer up the secondary. He didn't play all that much this past season, but in 2020 he recorded almost 100 tackles, had 3 picks. The 2021 season he had about 50 tackles and 2 picks. He hasn't seen the field all that much, but he's an extremely talented safety, and Sark has already talked about his ability to lead off the field as well, watching drills when he's not in them. He's making sure that he's a vocal leader, talking to guys about what the drill helps you do, what it's going to help you do on the field, and how they should be more effective in doing those drills. So I think Jalen Catalon, both on the field and off the field, is going to have the biggest impact for Texas, especially in a secondary that lost some guys, got a little weaker over the offseason. I really like Jalen Catalon.
Taking over for Anthony Cook in his spot with Jaron Thompson on the other side. The former Razorback has been injury prone, has struggled with injuries, whatever you want to call it, the past couple of years. But this is a guy that Texas really wanted coming out of high school. Tom Herman's staff really pushed for him before he ended up deciding on Arkansas. So we'll see if it pans out here in the Steve Sarkisian era. Robert?
I'm going to go with the former Georgia Bulldog, A.D. Mitchell. You know, one thing that I've really seen from this guy, especially in his performance in the playoffs, was that he can really reach for the ball. I also think he's the transfer who's going to get the most snaps. Therefore, I think we're going to see more action out of him. Okay, so regardless of who the quarterback is going to be this season, Quinn Ewers last year, people made some comments that he overthrew a lot of people. This guy, A.D. Mitchell, he could really reach for the ball. Well, if Quinn Ewers or if it's Arch Manning are going to have a problem overthrowing the football, well, at least we have a receiver who's joining a good receiving core that can really make the extra second effort to reach out for a ball, which means if there's more overthrown balls, there's more receptions too.
A.D. Mitchell, 4 touchdowns in 4 college football playoff games through his 2 seasons at Georgia. I mean, what more can you ask for? This is a guy who's a very good vertical threat, and he adds to a Texas wide receiver room that is as good as it's been probably in the past decade, I think is fair to say. When you have him, Xavier Worthy, Isaiah Nayer coming back from injury, Jordan Whittington, you bring in freshmen like Jonte Cook, you can go on and on and on. Without question, I think this is the deepest the room has been. Michael, finish us off.
I'm going to have to go with another person in the secondary. I'm going to go with Gavin Holmes, the guy out of Wake Forest. He was in Wake Forest ACC, correct?
Yes.
He was an ACC first-team all-defense. He's a great open-field tackler. He's a great ball hawk. He adds more depth to the cornerback position with Ryan Watts and Jahdae Barron. I think he's a good fit. They say he's a good he's a 4th year. He's a good leader he was a good vocal leader on the field. And I mean, I feel like it just adds more depth to a team that usually struggles to go back-to-back with defensive performances in years. They never really have a consistent defense, and I think this is a chance. If you add, like, the same with the secondary, same with, my bad, Goose's pick, Catalong, my bad, Goose's pick, that you add so much depth to secondary position that you just think it's a good way for Texas to kind of keep that defensive pressure they had last season.
Yeah, defense was the positive surprise of the year last year for the Longhorns. First year, Pete Kwiatkowski's really shown what he's capable of, and Deshaun Jameson leaps to that field corner spot is wide open. Gavin Holmes competing with guys like Terrence Brooks, freshman Malik Muhammad for that spot, so we'll see if the veteran can win that one out. Great questions, great answers, excuse me, once again. Jalen Catalon was the answer I was looking for. I agree with you, Goose. I think he's the biggest part of this team, so I think you get the 3 points here. Michael, you get the 2. Robert, you get the 1. We're 3 questions into this one, and it's close. Bear with me, I have to do math. Out in front is Goose with 8 points, and right behind him in a tie for second are Robert and Michael with 5 apiece. Long way to go. Next set of questions coming up on College Crossfire.
Trying to remember.
Just go quick. And
Just 4 teams. Hey, you don't have to really go in depth. Welcome back into College Crossfire. Quick score update if you're just joining us. Goose leads us with 8 points, shocking. And right behind him, tied in second place with 5, is Robert and Michael. You're never going to get the good end of the stick here, Goose. Let's go ahead and get our second block started with this. We're finally at a point now where we can ask this question with a bit more potential for accuracy and not making these guys look bad in a couple of weeks. In the men's and women's brackets, who do you have making the Final Four? Goose, you start us off. We'll go men's first, women's second.
Okay, we're going men's first, women's second. So in the men's, I don't remember the regions because I'm terrible at geography. But first, we're going to go with Gonzaga. I think they make it out of the Elite Eight this year, get all the way to the Final Four behind Drew Timme. Second, we're going to go with Texas. I think they get past Xavier, and I think they get past Houston. Houston's look beatable, so I'm going Texas to be the second one. They'll play Gonzaga in that first Final Four matchup. And then the other two, I'm going Alabama because I don't think they have a very difficult remaining bracket to get to the Final Four. And then the last one is my sleeper pick, and that's going to be Michigan State. Mr. March, Tom Izzo, is going to get it done one more time. He's taken a 7 seed to the Final Four before. I think he does it again. Michigan State's rolling and they're experienced. Now for the women. I think first, you obviously have to pick South Carolina. If you're not picking South Carolina, that's just ridiculous. They're absolutely going to make the Final Four, and I'm even going to say that they're going to win the championship. The second team that I'm going to go with to make the Final Four for the women's side is going to be Iowa. Caitlin Clark is generational. She's one of the best shooters I've ever seen, one of the best college players I've ever seen. And then third, for the women's side, I'm going to go with LSU. Angel Reese is averaging a ridiculous 20-plus, 15-plus boards. It's just stupid what she's doing over there at LSU. So I'm going to go with her, and then with LSU, and then lastly, you got to go with UConn just because of Gino Ariema's experience and the talent that they have around that team. So I'm going to go with LSU, UConn, South Carolina, and Iowa for the women's, and then for the men's, it's Texas, Texas, Gonzaga, Michigan State, and Alabama.
All right, that's some solid picks across the board there. I agree with you on the women's side of things. South Carolina, I think, is just going to steamroll everybody that they play. Very hard to beat Dawn Staley's team. Robert, your thoughts?
All right, for the men's, first off, Alabama is my first team. I think that they are arguably the best team in the entire bracket right now. I don't think they have any trouble in their region with who they have left to play. I think San Diego State, that's going to be a cakewalk for them. Alabama is my first team. Second, I have Tennessee. Now, I know you talked about Tom Izzo and how they could play Michigan State down the road. Tom Izzo is a great coach, but let's not forget about Rick Barnes. He's also a legendary college basketball coach. We can't forget he's there. He's got his own playbook, too. Then I'm going with Texas. Got to take my Longhorns over my own hometown, the Houston Cougars. I think the Longhorns, though, they have a great team this year. Best it's been in 15 years, I'd say. And that they can really steamroll over the Cougars in a hard-fought matchup. And then lastly, I'm going to be going with the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Drew Timme is a great player. Women's bracket, we're going with Iowa. Caitlin Clark is a great player, like you mentioned, Goose. But then I think Angel Reese for LSU, leading in rebounds and scoring in the top 5 for those two categories in all of college basketball. South Carolina is a great pick. They're the best team in all of women's college basketball. I think that they're going to be going to the championship also. Tennessee, they're also a powerhouse for women's college basketball. Cannot forget them either. So I'm going with LSU, Iowa, South Carolina, and Tennessee for the women.
I'm going to say that I love this Iowa team just because Caitlin Clark is my favorite basketball player ever. I'm buying a jersey as soon as she goes to the WNBA. She is phenomenal, and I love how she just pulls up from 37 feet and drains it like it's nothing. Didn't she do that in the last game? Literally like the first possession down the floor. She just stops at the logo, drains a three, runs back, and then gets a triple-double by beating you by 20. That's just phenomenal basketball right there. So huge Caitlin Clark fan for me. Michael, finish us out.
These picks, it hurts going last because you're going to hear a lot of familiar teams. I have, first, for the men's, I have Alabama. I mean, they have an easy cakewalk. San Diego State's not really going to do much. They have a cakewalk to the Final Four, in my opinion. Then you have Tennessee, who, like, when I watched the Duke game, they showed, like, I saw the middle of their season, they showed their size, their strength, their speed, especially with Oliver. I'm going to botch his last name, Nakahoma or something. I don't know.
Your guess is as good as mine.
He had 27. He had 27 against Duke. He showed they really know what to stop in the paint. He's a big body. And then I got to go over to the top side. I got to go with Texas, too. I mean, Dessou's been on a roll. I mean, if they get past Xavier, I don't think anyone else can really give them a problem. Maybe Houston. I think they're better than Houston. And then going to the bottom, I got to go with Gonzaga, too. Drew Timme has the most 20-point games in NCAA history. I got to go with the Zags down there. And on the women's side, it's basically the same as you just heard. South Carolina, they're, I think, one of the only teams I've ever seen when it comes to prize picks with a favorite to win. They're not in the plus, they're in the minus. I don't think I've ever seen that. It's pretty impressive. So I got to take South Carolina for that reason. Same thing as Iowa. They have sharpshooters around. They have a Steph Curry on their team. What are you really going to do with that? That's hard to guard. Goose knows that. He's a Steph Curry type of player. No, right there. And then we got to go with LSU.
Bandwagon.
We got to go with LSU as well because, I mean, they've shown, even when they played South Carolina early in the year and didn't play as well, I think they can still push their way into there. And I also got to end with UConn. When you think of women's basketball, you also think of UConn. So I think that's a pretty easy pick there. So I got to go with, for the women's, LSU, Iowa, UConn, South Carolina, men's, Texas, Alabama, Tennessee, and Gonzaga.
So I want to go back to that South Carolina pick, and you mentioned prize picks. Didn't South Carolina open as like a 50-point favorite in their first-round game, which was like the biggest line in betting history?
Easy one.
That's just, like, how do you not win a championship if you're favored by 50 in basketball? I mean, that's 25 possessions at least. You don't hear about that. So great answers all across the board. Really, I can't say that any of them are good because they could be good today and then terrible next week. So for all we know, San Diego State could lock down Alabama and move on to the Final Four. I think you guys are underrating San Diego State's defense a little bit. I think they'll give Alabama a run for their money. But like I said, great answers across the board. Robert, you'll get the 3 here. Michael, you get the 2. And Goose, you get the 1. Last question of this block. Now that NFL free agency has slowed down, there are a lot of star players in new places with a whole lot of money following suit. A lot of teams have made moves via trade and signing deals, but which do you think has won free agency up to this point? And it's no shocker that there's a team I'm looking for. Robert?
Well, it's not finalized yet, but I have to go with the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers, one of the best quarterbacks in all the NFL from the past years. It's not finalized yet, but he clearly said on the Pat McAfee show that that's where he wants to be. Now, I say that this is the best team for the free agency period in terms of the moves that they have made because of a cause-effect sort of situation. He has a wish list. He has a list. He's checking it twice. He's telling the organization what players he wants to have on the team. Odell Beckham Jr., he wants him. He wants him on the team. Devontae Adams is not a far-fetched possibility to having on the team. Also, today, they signed McCole Hardman from the Chiefs. He's my favorite player in the NFL, but he's very underrated.
McCole Hardman is your favorite?
One of my favorite players in the NFL. He is my favorite, yeah. Aside from the fact he's very underrated, but he's super fast. When he and Tyreek Hill were a duo on the Chiefs, they were known as it was the Legion of Zoom. That's what they were calling them. It was a parody on the Seahawks, Legion of Boom. Sorry, but they signed McCole Hardman today. That's already a huge receiver that they've picked up, and they're likely going to pick up Aaron Rodgers as that's where he wants to go, and then pick up some more receivers who want to play with him.
All right, I want to give you negative 1,000 points for Aaron Rodgers just because I despise him so much. But nonetheless, I don't know about Devontae Adams. I think that's very far-fetched. You've got Garrett Wilson. If you're going to bring in Odell Beckham Jr., that's not feasible in my book. But nonetheless, anything is possible. This is the NFL. Crazier things have happened. Michael, continue.
I'm not kissing any butt here. This is my true pick. I have to go with the Chicago Bears.
80 million points for Michael.
I could say this just off of DJ Moore. DJ Moore, they finally pick up a good threat for Justin Fields. He's a young talent. They see you can see a franchise receiver in that slot. I mean, he was carried Carolina through all those years, how all god awful they were. But now he's finally on a team with a QB that could probably take him places. I think that's a good idea. On the defensive side, I got to go with Tremaine Edmonds. I think he's one of the best tackling linebackers in the league. I think he's one of the hardest hitters. He's very slept on. I think he can make a huge improvement for that team. And then I got to end it with a Longhorn favorite, Deontay Foreman, who had 1,000 yards this past season. He's keeps steadily improving up the ladder, and I think that he's going to help the run game for that team. I'm not a giant Bears fan here, but I know that they're not a great team. I think they had 3 wins last year, and I think with this team they can probably push for maybe a wild card spot. I think they have the talent to do it if Justin Fields keeps doing what he's doing.
Well, I am a Bears fan, and I'll tell you, Tremaine Edmonds and T.J. Edwards makes me super excited. It reminds me, hold your chairs, Brian Urlacher, Lance Briggs. That's the best linebacker core we've had since those two were around in the Monsters of the Midway defense. But we're inching closer. I think DJ Moore's a great pickup. Would love Jackson Smith and Jigba in the draft, but I understand that's probably not going to happen. So, Peter Skoronsky, you're staying home, buddy. Anyways, Goose, close us out.
You know, ironically enough, Tommy, I think it's between our two teams when you ask the question who's had the best offseason. So, since he's gone with the Bears, I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons. Terry Fontenot has been cooking so far this offseason. You just want to look at a couple of the defensive acquisitions. You have David Onyemata and Keaton Ellis, both from the Saints. Both have worked with defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen. They understand the schemes. The Falcons going into the offseason knew they needed to buff up the defensive line and their linebacker core. They did exactly that. Another issue that they needed to shore up was the secondary. They went out and got Jesse Bates, probably the best safety in football right now. So I really like that pickup for Atlanta. I think that's probably the best pickup of the offseason for the Falcons. They also went out and they got Jonnu Smith, who Arthur Smith has worked with as a tight end, both running in blocking formations. They put him at running back. They put him in the slot. That frees up Kyle Pitts to do a lot of different things. They got Mac Hollins, which gives them another receiver, a big body outside of Drake London as well. And they got some other depth pickups as well that aren't all that mentionable. But I think overall the Atlanta Falcons have had an incredibly successful offseason. And although it's between the Bears and Falcons, I have to go with the Falcons.
Did you say that Jesse Bates is the best safety in football? Did Derwin James fall off a cliff?
I think Jesse Bates is better.
All right. Well, we're through 2 sets of questions, and at the top of the board with 11 points, even following that answer, is Goose with 11. Right behind him in second place is Michael with 10, and third with 9 is Robert. But all that can change in an instant. The rapid fire round is next on College Crossfire. It's time for the last 3 questions of the night for us here on College Crossfire, and you know what that means. It's the rapid fire round, where the points are double, so it's anyone's game. If you're new to the show, rapid fire is our third and final segment where our contestants will have to answer 3 questions, just like they have the last 2 rounds, but this time they have no idea what I'll be asking. Everything is off the dome. They say defense wins championships. That's not true. Rapid fire wins championships. Let's find out who tonight's champion will be. Here we go. After beating #1 Purdue in the opening round of the tournament, Farley Dickinson became America's team as they just pulled off one of the greatest, if not the greatest, upsets in tournament history. Which was your favorite Cinderella story in March Madness?
This year or all time?
All time. Anybody can start. Go ahead.
I'm a shoot at the cannon here.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Florida Gulf Coast back in.
Electric.
I don't remember when, but way back then when they beat, they were titled as Lob City. It was they were a pretty electric team. I'm not gonna lie. They were. I remember when they played Missouri in that first round. I was probably maybe 11, maybe 12, and that's kind of when Lob City and the NBA was happening. So
Yep.
when they kind of made that comparison, I shot up randomly. I don't know why. I love dunks. Dunking is one of my favorite things. I think that was maybe one of the most electric teams I've seen. I think they made it to the Sweet 16, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, then they beat Missouri, and then they beat whoever was after that. It was a long time ago, but I got to go with Florida Gulf Coast.
Absolutely electric team. Robert?
I got to go with Loyola Chicago back in 2018, you know. Also, fellow Catholics, got to support them. But anyways, you know, I never
The banding of religion on College Crossfire.
I never expected that team to go that far, you know.
No one
The amount of hype and just team spirit and energy behind, and just the way they played, their game plan on the court was so fun to watch against teams that you never thought they would beat. And the fact that they made it to the Final Four is, I think, the most successful or complete Cinderella run I've actually seen. You see a lot of Cinderella teams go to the round of 32 or the Sweet 16, but then you know they eventually lose. This team actually made it to the biggest stage. I mean, the biggest stage is the national championship game, but the biggest stage, Final Four, and it was Loyola Chicago. I thought that was so cool, just watching all the hype around them form.
Absolutely, and when you have Sister Jean on your side, it's hard to lose. I mean, Sister Jean's a machine. She willed them to that Final Four win. Porter Moser kind of did too, but nonetheless, impressive stuff. Goose, close us out.
We're going to go with another Missouri Valley Conference team, and this is going to be the Wichita State Shockers from way back when they made it to the Final Four. They played Louisville, who later won the championship but had to forfeit that national championship due to recruiting violations. So all I'm saying is Wichita State should have been in the national championship game if we're going by by the violations that occurred. That being said, Fred VanVleet was on that team, Cleanthony Early on that team, Ron Baker, multiple NBA players. The following season, they went undefeated during the regular season and won their conference championship. They just burst onto the scene. Nobody expected them to be as good as they were, and they had Louisville in a chokehold until the end of the second half when some of those guys on Louisville just got hot and there was nothing they could do. But Wichita State for sure.
All right, 3 great selections there. I'm going to keep the points to myself, so nobody can do the math in their heads and find out who's winning this one. So we'll move on to our next question. Japan defeated the U.S. last night in the World Baseball Classic after a brilliant tournament from teams all around the world. What other off-season tournaments would you like to see other sports either bring back or do for the first time? That's a tough question. Goose is stumped.
Pretty tough.
All of our contestants are stumped.
That's a really good question, Tom.
Thank you. You know, we try. Shout out to our executive producer, Jordan Galehood, for helping me come up with these.
Sorry, some mic troubles there.
Someone in the mic room had to cover their ears after that.
We're going to go. We need an American football tournament where every other country plays American football just so that we can see how dominant this country is in a sport that they created that no other country has ever played. I just think it would be absolutely hilarious to watch. And watching the United States throw their best players on the field against I don't know,
Czechoslovakia.
Exactly. I just feel like it'd be really funny to watch Tyreek Hill burn some of those dudes down the field. But that's what I think. American football should have some type of tournament like that.
See, I think that's just bullying. That's got to be like international bullying or something. I don't do politics. What's the world organization called where all the countries are like allies?
The UN?
UN, yeah. That's got to be a UN sorry, guys, I don't pay attention to this stuff. That's got to be a UN violation or something, right? Like, there's no way that can be allowed for American football. But you could bring the third-string NFL guys, and they would beat every country in the world by 70.
You could put Georgia out there.
Yeah, you could throw a bunch of college true freshmen out there. You could put the Westlake Chaparrals a couple years ago out there, and they would have steamrolled anybody in their path. Westlake actually North Shore. North Shore is better than Westlake. I'm just saying.
All right. I do
Thank you.
I do like the idea of his there. I mean, but at the same time, you could also see players that aren't from the U.S. go join a team on maybe in France or something. That might make a difference.
You know any French NFL players?
Yeah, you never know that. No,
that's true.
You always find out. That's just kind of how it works. But I guess I would have to go maybe in the NBA direction. I don't like the Summer League. I think the Summer League is boring. I mean, you see players, they try and get accustomed to an NBA game. I think just scratch Summer League. No one wants to watch that. And try to change it to something maybe some of the best players in the NBA, they make a pickup team. And you get a team with 7, and y'all go play outdoor courts. Go somewhere go to Rutgers Park or something. Don't go inside. Go outside. Put some double rims up somewhere. I don't know. Make it interesting. Make it like a street ball to where they call their own fouls. Just like LeBron. I saw a fake tweet. I'm pretty sure where it was LeBron said, "I'm tired of these refs. Let's just start calling our own." I thought that was really funny. So I think that would be pretty fun to watch. And you somehow turn that into a tournament style and make a championship.
Yeah, I definitely see no controversy there when it comes to calling your own fouls.
Oh yeah.
But I really like that idea. The only downfall, my mortal enemy, I know Goose's friend, is double rims. Just really not working out in my favor. For whatever reason it worked for him, it doesn't work for anybody else.
I, too, am not a fan of the double rims, but that's unrelated to the question. So
I think it's very related to the question.
I'm gonna also take the American football route, but also turn it down a notch. I feel like if y'all have seen the Rising Stars Challenge on NBA All-Star Weekend, it's always the USA versus the world. So it's people from other foreign countries teaming up together to take on the U.S. young players. Let's take it to the amateur level of football, so more like top high school prospects or top college prospects, not NFL, not pro yet, but those top prospects, top amateur prospects from the United States taking on top prospects from any other country. And there's got to be more than enough players to fill a whole team for the foreign team. I mean, football is getting very popular in Europe now. I'm not saying it's a big league, but, there's NFL games going on there. It's got to be catching publicity. There's more than enough Canadian players or foreign-born players. So why not do, a Rising Stars game that happens every year between the United States and, a team of foreign new prospects in American football?
Absolutely, and the game really is expanding in football as well. We've seen several Division I players come from overseas, from countries like Sweden, England, the likes of that. Even the NFL Academy opening up, I think in London, if I'm not mistaken, a school for high school athletes to go to try and show off their talents there, to come overseas and play college football. So really good answers across the board. There really is no wrong answer. I think I loved all three of those ideas. But obviously only one person can win, and that's going to lead into our last question. In an announcement saying that he would throw at Auburn's Pro Day, former Panthers quarterback we're already laughing before the question. Former Panthers quarterback Cam Newton said that there weren't 32 quarterbacks better than him in the league right now. Keep in mind that is wildly turned down from what he actually said. That in mind, who is one recently retired player that you would want to see make a comeback to the league? Goose is chuckling. I feel like he already has somebody in mind. Robert, go ahead if you got one.
Nothing really too funny about this. I don't think he's about my answer that's coming up. I'm not sure if he's retired, but I know he's not getting any playing time. But this is a guy who I've just really always asked the what if question about, and I'm going to go with former Alabama Crimson Tide quarterback A.J. McCarron. He was great in college, but he was surrounded by a lot of running back and wide receiver teammates who also led the team around him. But I never really thought that he got his full chance to start in the NFL or do well. He was always playing behind big stars like Andy Dalton. He went to the Texans for a little bit, but I never really thought he got a shot or that people put him in front of the right opportunity to be the starting quarterback. And I always thought he never really did anything bad to make him earn the backup position or did worse than other players. I'd love to see A.J. McCarron come back and actually prove himself, because I've always asked that question, what if?
think A.J. McCarron, if I'm not mistaken, is playing quarterback in the XFL right now, right?
Correct.
That sound about right? So maybe he's on that path. Hopefully we'll see him in the league here pretty soon. Michael?
I'm going to go with one of my personal favorites, one of my all-time favorite players. I'm going to go with Beast Mode. I'm going to go with Marshawn Lynch. Who doesn't love that charismatic guy just on the field?
Who doesn't?
That guy, he was the Derrick Henry before Derrick Henry. Who's tackling that guy? I still hate. Oh my God! It still brings. I'm not a Seahawks fan, but I was a Marshawn Lynch fan. Why didn't they give him the ball, man? He's the best running back in the league. Just why don't you just
Steve
give him
Carroll,
the ball?
what are we doing, buddy?
Just let him run in. But I mean, I need 3-shot Henny before a game, Marshawn Lynch before anything. So that's who I'd root for.
Certainly up there in the pregame routines that that definitely make you question how these athletes are able to function. Justin?
This is a guy that if he suits up would still be a horrible matchup for any NFL defense, and that's Calvin Megatron Johnson. I don't care how old Calvin Johnson is. You put him in another NFL uniform, you put him on the field, and just have him run a go route and throw the ball up to him. If he's in one-on-one coverage, he's mossing you and he's running it into the end zone. I don't care. I need to see Calvin Johnson play football just one more time in my life because I don't feel like I appreciated it enough when I was younger. Please, just one more game. Do it for us, Megatron, please.
I think Calvin Johnson could be 85 years old and still be better than 90% of wide receivers in the NFL. So sad that his career was ended up cut short, but it's kind of pointless when you're double teamed every play. Your quarterback is Matthew Stafford, who's half decent, and you're on the Lions. What?
No, Matthew Stafford. Hey, Matthew Stafford's nice.
No, Matthew Stafford is better than average.
Well, that's all you need. But hey,
He won a Super Bowl.
Better than average.
He won a Super Bowl.
He won a Super Bowl
left
with
the worst
the
team
greatest
ever.
defense in
He won a Super
NFL
Bowl.
history.
That's fine. That's fine.
All I'm saying. Nonetheless, all around great answers on this rapid fire. Certainly a great way to close out the show. But as you all know, there can only be one winner. Today's College Crossfire champion is Atlanta's finest, Justin Goosman. Justin, congratulations. Samantha, do we have time for FaceTime? Yes, we do. Justin, take it away.
Oh, man, great to be back. Great to get another win. Finally, it feels like it's been forever. Mom,
been like
Dad,
2
if you're
weeks.
watching, love you guys, miss you guys. Yeah, it really hasn't been that long. Anyway, love being back here. For everybody at TSTV, we appreciate you. That's all I got.
All right, well, congratulations to our winner, Justin Goosman, and a huge thanks to Robert and Michael for joining us tonight. Always great to have you guys on. Please come back. That'll do it for us here in the TSTV studios. Before you go, make sure to come back Friday mornings for the 1-0 Sports Show and Monday nights for College Press Box. Thanks to our live studio audience for coming out tonight and being great as usual. For our contestants, everyone in Master Control, our executive producer, Jordan Galehood, my name's Tommy Yarrish, signing off, saying good night. We'll see you next time.